For the last few weeks, the boys of Team Liquid Fortnite have taken the competitive Fortnite scene by storm. After consistently placing top 10 in Epic Summer Skirmish Series, Jap, Poach, and 72 Hours have begun to change the competitive meta after popularizing stretched resolutions.
With you, Mom!
With you! Love is an open heart! Dance!
Mom!
Money, 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 money!
This has led seemingly every other pro or competitive player to follow in their footsteps and change their resolutions too. Streamers as big as Tfue and Myth have sacrificed stream quality for the competitive advantage they believe a stretch resolution was offering Team Liquid.
Oh, this shit feels. Ooh.
You probably have to
It
change
feels
your
so
video.
clean, doesn't it?
Feels so fucking clean. Holy shit.
However, a Reddit user by the name of Victor1992 recently posted an infographic detailing how and why stretched res does not offer exactly what most people thought it did. The newly transformed Stretched community was set into a frenzy trying to figure out exactly what Stretched offered a user over native resolution. Even longtime Stretched streamers began to wonder if Stretched truly had any competitive advantages and if it was worth the eyesore it is for viewers. As there is undoubtedly a lot of misinformation surrounding the topic, I am here to clear everything up. First, let's start with the basics: aspect ratio and resolution. Your resolution is the total number of pixels displayed on your monitor. In a standard HD resolution, which is 1280 by 720, there will be 921,600 pixels. In Full HD, which is 1920 by 1080, and most likely the resolution of your monitor, you will have over 2 million pixels. Aspect ratio is simply the ratio of the width and height of the image. The most common aspect ratio is 16 by 9, which has become the standard aspect ratio over the past decade. Other common aspect ratios you may see players stream on are 4 by 3 and 16 by 10. Now, a stretch resolution is taking a smaller aspect ratio, such as 4 by 3, and stretching it to fit a bigger aspect ratio, such as 16 by 9. This makes the image appear stretched, as its name suggests, because all the information is retained from the original image, it's just been elongated to fit the other aspect ratio. If you have ever watched or seen a stretched image, it is often blurry and the image is distorted. This is because anything other than your native resolution forces your monitor to interpolate or guess on non-native resolutions, creating a massive loss in clarity. So, how did stretch res start in Fortnite? Well, actually, stretch res originally became popular in Counter-Strike. In Counter-Strike, character models on stretched resolution were bigger and easier to see. This made it easier for top players to quickly see an enemy and made pixel peeking easier as the enemy's character models were stretched. Many players even played on 4-3 with black bars, as they felt it was easier to concentrate on what was in front of them, similar to how a jockey will put blinders on a horse to make them focus on what is in front of them in a race. This means they left a small 4 by 3 image and played on that rather than stretching the 4 by 3 image back to 16 by 9. Stretch resolution in Fortnite, just as in CS, does not affect hitboxes at all. While stretch resolution in Fortnite may make character models appear wider, this does not influence their hitboxes. Hitboxes do not and cannot be affected by changing your aspect ratio or resolution. You can think of this as if you put your face closer to the screen, or if you put a magnifying glass on your monitor. The character's model would appear bigger, but the hitbox would remain unchanged. It may in fact feel, and I stress the word feel, easier to hit, but that is just a placebo effect. This placebo is definitely real, and you may feel as if it is easier to hit your shotgun shots. However, it must be clear that the appearance of a wider character model does not increase or change the character's hitbox at all. Now, the second misconception is that stretch in Fortnite makes character models larger. What you can see on the screen now is untrue. It actually makes them shorter and smaller overall. This is due to the way Fortnite's engine treats stretch resolutions. By smushing the 4:3 image down, taken from the 16 by 9, the character model is actually shorter and overall smaller as it is further away from your screen. This means it is harder to see and harder to hit. Even in 4 by 3, 16 by 10, and other stretched reses, your character model may look wider, but it is actually the same width relative to the environment, which you can see by looking at the width of each red line relative to the wall. If we wanted to stretch our character models the same way in which CS players do, we would need to stretch 16 by 9 onto a 21 by 9 aspect ratio, which is only possible if your monitor is an ultra-wide and can natively support this higher aspect ratio. Thanks to Reddit user PrayBeats, we can see the Red Knight model is more than 1.5 centimeters wider when stretched onto a 20 by 9 monitor. However, in the case for pretty much all of us, we are stretching 4 by 3, 16 by 10, or some other smaller resolution onto a 16 by 9 aspect ratio. This will leave us with a seemingly wider model, but overall much smaller and shorter. But all is not bad with stretched resolutions. There are definitely some real advantages when switching to stretched. First is the higher vertical FOV, or field of vision. As you can see, 16 by 9 or native resolution allows you to see 4.5 walls up. 16 by 10 will allow you to see 5.25 walls up. And finally, one of the more stretched resolutions and more popular stretch resolutions, 4 by 3, will allow you to see 5.75 walls up. As you can see, 4 by 3 is more stretched than 16 by 10, and 16 by 10 is more stretched than 16 by 9. The more stretched you go, the higher vertical FOV. You can even think of 4 by 3 as 16 by 12. The way Fortnite works is that the higher Y value in your aspect ratio allows you for a higher vertical FOV. Having a higher vertical FOV proves very useful in Fortnite, as building in high ground is extremely important. Being able to track the enemy above you and see more of what they are doing in a build battle or gunfight is extremely helpful. Fortnite could easily eliminate this issue by adding FOV sliders in either direction, as funnily enough, 16 by 9 has the least available FOV. Since stretched forces you to reduce your resolution, which is again the total amount of pixels in your screen, your FPS will increase and the game will feel smoother. This is because less resolution means less demand on your GPU and increased overall performance. Just be aware, you do not have to play stretched to decrease your resolution and increase your FPS. You can stay at a 16 by 9 aspect ratio and still increase your FPS and the game won't be stretched. In order to do this, just go into your settings and decrease your resolution. Back to stretch res and increased FPS. Higher FPS means the frames will be fresher for less overall input lag. This advantage is not extremely noticeable if you have a 144Hz monitor or higher, but for those looking for any advantage possible, higher FPS is what you want, and playing stretched or just decreasing your resolution overall will help you achieve that. In the end, it comes down to preference. There are both advantages and trade-offs to stretch resolutions in Fortnite. Unfortunately, stretching your res will not turn you into Tfue overnight, so mess around with it and find what you like the most. You need to ask yourself, is the trade-off of higher FPS and better FOV worth a lower resolution and smaller character models? And for those of you who can't make up their minds, I think we can all agree not to copy Chap.
It's fine. We have the most vertical FOV in the world.